Hey y'all, it's Dorothy from PrepInYourStep.com and welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to film this for y'all today since I've had a lot of people ask me to make a video on this subject. So if you're new to my channel, thought I'd kind of explain where I'm coming from with this and then get into my tips on how to start a blog. So if you didn't know, I have a blog and I've had it for nearly 5 years. It'll be 5 years in December. So that's kind of how I started making videos. When I couldn't explain something to y'all over text, on the blog, like content writing stuff, then I would make a video kind of explaining it to y'all and y'all really took to the videos. So you get very upset when I don't post them frequently. And that's kind of where the video content has come from. But obviously I started as a blogger and I'm still super passionate about blogging. I like to blog every weekday when I can, and I have been doing it for long enough that I feel like I can share some wisdom and some tips with y'all. This is obviously not everything you need to know if you're deciding to start a blog, but it's kind of the basics, and since y'all had asked that, I thought it would be a cool video to film. So if you're not interested in starting a blog, I don't know if this will be interesting to you unless you kind of want to see the behind the scenes of how a blog gets started. So I'm going to go through some tips and kind of explain some stuff for y'all, and if you're a new blogger or you decide to start a blog after this post, then definitely comment below because I'd love to check it out, but also let me know if you want a tips for new bloggers video post. So I'd be happy to do that for y'all. I love blogging. It is always number one, so I mean to YouTube at least, and I would love to share some of my wisdom with y'all because I was at a loss when I started blogging. I would look things up all the time, so maybe you found me through that. But I'm going to go ahead and get into the tips so this isn't super rambly. So to start creating a blog, I would start by creating a theme. So maybe you take a notepad or you write something in a Word document, kind of what you're wanting your blog to be about. What type of people do you want? What subject do you want to write about? All of that sort of stuff is important to take into account when you're starting to brainstorm kind of what you want to do and the direction you want the blog that you may be creating to take. So I like to think of kind of what I'm interested in, maybe what I have been searching for on the internet, where I can kind of find a niche and start blogging. So that would be my first tip, is to just start brainstorming. You need to start thinking of other things that will draw people to the site, but also what are your favorite colors? What do you want the aesthetic to be? All of that stuff is important when you're just starting out. So my next tip for starting a blog would be to choose a platform. I personally use Blogger. If you haven't checked out my blog, definitely go check it out. That's important to this video so you can kind of see my credibility, I guess. But I use Blogger. A lot of people use WordPress. I haven't seen a need to transfer to WordPress. Blogger has been great for my needs so far. I'm not saying eventually I won't have to transfer over, but you need to just look at the different templates, see how accessible each one is for you and your skill level, because I found myself Googling a lot of different things, and traditionally Blogger is a lot easier to use. So I mean, WordPress could be more complicated. You may have a lot of background in WordPress, choose it, choose what's best for you, but those are the two platforms that I know most bloggers use. So once you've chosen, you're going to want to choose a template that you can start out with and kind of customize later on. So you don't need to go ahead and pay someone to design your site right away. That comes with time and it's also very expensive. So don't just rush into that, especially if you're not sure if you're going to stick with it. But go ahead and choose a pre-made template on their site and, customize what colors you wanted. I knew in my head I really wanted to do, when I started out, a hot pink, a navy, and a light pink. So I am in the process of hopefully getting a new header designed soon. I kind of have in my mind what I want, but it is expensive, like I said, so I'm kind of waiting it out a little, waiting after back to school to really dive into that and work with someone to make my blog look really visually appealing. So you don't need to buy anything just yet, although if you are starting out and you want something just completely made and you need it easy and you know that blogging is something that you're going to be sticking with, go to Etsy. There's so many great graphic designers on there that have templates that are already made, and who can install them if that's just really overwhelming to you and you're eager to get to writing. So my next tip, and maybe the most fun, would be to come up with a name. I personally love puns. I always have, and so I wanted something clever. I knew I wanted to start a blog, but I wasn't going to start a blog without a strong name that I knew I could kind of grow up with, so to speak. So I thought of PrepInYourStep. I don't even remember where I was, but I remember writing down on my phone, PrepInYourStep. And that night I went in and I just did some research. I made sure that no one had a blog by that name. No one was using that as an account or anything. because that's super important. You don't want to steal someone else's name. I find it frustrating sometimes when I'll log onto Instagram or just like see other blogs with a different spin on my name, and while it's super flattering that someone thought that was clever, it's also frustrating because I spent a lot of time working on that and I knew that the creative process for that wasn't easy for me, so it's frustrating when that happens. So don't steal someone else's name and make sure it's something that you can kind of age with. So Prep in Your Step, I feel like will last a while. I don't really feel like I'll necessarily outgrow it because I'm giving you prep for the day, I'm giving you like preppy outfit posts, I'm giving you kind of college prep, all of these different like preparing things. So Prep in Your Step really fits for a while for me. So that was a big part. I wouldn't start a blog without having a strong name that you want to use because it's kind of hard to switch it around after that. So next you're going to want to think about your target audience. This is something that can be really broad, and I've discovered over the years my target audience is a huge age range. So I have middle to high school aged girls, even college girls reading my blog, which is great because I have a lot of kind of hints and tips for how to do different things in college, how to study for exams, all these different posts. But I also have a large portion of my audience that is those girls' moms. So I love that both a mom and a daughter can come to my blog and kind of see ways to, one can encourage the other or be successful. So my age range is pretty big, but originally my target audience was girls around the same age as me. So it's just kind of developed over time. And while it doesn't need to be like my target audience is 22 and a half, like no, it can be a broad range. It is nice to kind of have that in mind when you're starting to come up with different content for your blog. With that, you really need to brainstorm post ideas. I am doing this constantly. I can be in the car, I can be getting a haircut, I can be doing whatever, and I'll think of a post idea and I'll immediately write it down, because the best way to keep your blog on track and have posts going up frequently is to have a long list of ideas of posts to write. So brainstorming can come in all shapes and forms. I like looking at Pinterest for different inspiration, so I may be scrolling through Pinterest and see something that is like related to some sort of fashion, and I think of an outfit that I have and a piece that's similar and kind of twist it to be my own. Or someone is writing about this food and it jogs my memory and I really want to talk about the different foods I eat in a day. So all sorts of things can come into your head whenever, so just go ahead and write those down. I do keep a running list of different posts I want to do so that I'm never without. If I'm trying to rush to write a post the next day, I don't have to just write about something that I'm bored with, but something I'm really excited about because I have that list of inspiration. So before you announce your blog going live or, try to build some hype around it, write a few posts, because it's frustrating to come to a blog for the first time and only see one post and then a couple weeks later be like, okay, they didn't stick to it, what is this? So go ahead and write a few posts and then kind of build the hype around your blog. When you're writing those posts, don't just copy other people's posts. That's hard. I feel like sometimes I'll go onto blogs and I'll see stuff and I'm like, I wrote those in that order too. And that's not to say that you can't write about that, but definitely frame it different than what you've already seen. If someone's already seen that, they're probably not going to click on your post and want to come to your blog to see what you're writing about because they've had enough information from other bloggers about that. So when you're writing about stuff, just make sure you're putting your own spin on it. I know there are just different things that we're all going to write about, and that's not a big deal. So write about it in your own way and you'll avoid just like copying someone else's post, I guess. My next tip, and it's something that I definitely didn't do, if I went back to the beginning of my blog, which don't do, it's not, you have to start somewhere, but I don't want to go back to the first post. Use quality photos. I think I used my iPhone, and at that point I had an iPhone 3 and the photos are just not very good. So if you can use quality images, especially your own, then your blog will start to take off a little bit quicker because you have kind of shareable content, so to speak, on Pinterest and Instagram and Twitter, and people are more likely to click on things that are aesthetically appealing. So good photos are a great thing to have. You can get a point and shoot camera for pretty inexpensive nowadays. iPhones really do take great photos now, but later on down the road you'll probably want to invest in a DSLR camera, and that's what I use when I'm taking all my blog photos now. And if you are using photos that are not your own, be sure to credit the original source and don't let Pinterest be that original source. You need to click through the pinned link to the site and copy that and maybe put like via at the bottom so that people know, because the people who took these photos deserve credit. So be sure to do that if you're not using your own photos. My next tip for starting a blog would be to be consistent with your uploading. So This is kind of one of those things I struggle with when I'm at school sometimes, especially last semester. I think I maybe had 30 blog posts go live all of last semester. And if you think about how long a semester is and how many weekdays there are, that number is nowhere near what I wanted it to be. So try to be consistent with your uploading schedule. And if you can't be, just be transparent with your readers with that. Be like, I'm really going through a lot right now and I can't post, so be on the lookout. I have a lot of great ideas coming later when I have more time. But especially when you're starting out and if you want your blog to kind of grow, being consistent with your uploading is really important. Personally for me, like I said, I like to upload stuff at 8:30 every weekday. So you can pretty much guarantee if I'm going to have a post go out a day that it's going to go live at 8:30. Granted, there are always computer issues and stuff like that sometimes things go up a little weird, but I always update on social media if that's the case. Next, I would advise you to create a blog email account. So this can be whatever your blog's name is, at gmail.com, at yahoo.com, and I don't know what some of the other ones are. I guess AOL still has email. But go ahead and create a blog account because I get really overwhelmed with emails, especially when they're for my school email account because I'm my sorority's president, so I get a lot of emails, and I think that the combination of school emails and blog emails together would just, I don't know what it would do to me, but I just would be too overwhelming. So go ahead and create a separate account. You can create your blog through that account. If anyone wants to reach out to you, that's how they get to you. So it's been really helpful to have a separate email account specifically for blog related stuff. And if you're just starting out, I highly recommend that. So like I was talking about, be original, make this blog your own, make it your little baby and let it grow with you. And so that would require you to be yourself on it and not just write for what people want to hear, but also use your voice and start building a personality, even though that's kind of hard online, but doing that. It's super important to be original with it because that's what's going to draw people in and keep them coming back. So my next tip would be to create corresponding social media to your account. Originally, the only reason I created a blog Instagram was because I didn't want my friends to feel like if they were posted in a photo that if they were tagged, they would have a lot of people they don't know following them because I want to protect their privacy and I also want to protect my own. So I think creating a different blog Instagram is really important, and it's more common nowadays since a lot of people have Instagrams for that sort of thing. But go ahead and just make it the same as your blog name if you want, and you're not going to be giving away too much personal information like your location or your friend's last name or your last name. It just depends on kind of what you want to be out there on the internet. So go ahead and do that. I did that for Twitter, Instagram. The only thing that's different is my Snapchat is PrepStep Snaps because someone already had PrepInYourStep. So yeah, definitely create something separate. So with that social media, now you have the perfect platform to just build hype around your post and promote your content. So you really want to do that. You've worked hard writing a blog post. You've worked hard taking the photos. Now share it with people. Put it on Pinterest. That's a great way to kind of build exposure to your blog. Put it on Instagram. Just build a conversation around the post and continue to kind of let people know what's out there so that they are then driven to your blog. So as new people come to your blog, be sure to engage with them. That's something that I keep trying to get better about. Sometimes I do get overwhelmed by social media and emails and all of that stuff that it's hard for me to respond to everything. But engaging with your readers will give them a sense of conversation and that you're maybe their friend instead of just someone that they see on the internet. So that'll keep them coming back as well. So engaging with your readers is a huge one, and I really am trying to be better about that. On YouTube, I'm pretty good about responding to a lot of the comments that have questions, but I can always do more with that, and that's something that I would highly encourage a new blogger to keep in mind. And lastly, I recommend commenting on other blogs. I love getting comments on my blog. Like, blog posts are made so much better when someone acknowledges the fact that you either put in a lot of time or that the post resonated with them. So definitely comment on other blogs. If you have a blog, that's a perfect place to put your little hyperlink to your blog in it in case someone's scrolling through and wants to check out something that may be similar. So it's kind of free advertising, although don't go on someone's blog or YouTube or Instagram and be like, check me out, because they're probably going to block that or delete that because that's frustrating because this isn't necessarily your space to advertise. But if you do write a meaningful comment, write your name at the bottom and put a link to your blog and people will probably check it out. So those are my tips for how to start a blog. Let me know if you want to see tips for new bloggers because I'd be happy to film that for y'all. But if you have any other tips for when it comes to starting a blog, leave them below. And if you liked this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe. I am going to try to continue to post a lot of videos while I'm at school, although I may have to cut back on how frequently I upload, but I'll keep y'all updated on all of that. But in the meantime, definitely check out my blog because that's where YouTube started for me, and all of my social media, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!